I haven't bought a jug of laundry detergent in 40 years. Not one. And the shirt I'm wearing right now got washed in something that cost me about $1 to make, and it came out cleaner than anything that ever poured out of a plastic bottle. 40 years ago, I stood in the detergent aisle holding a name brand jug that cost more than my whole grocery list for the week, and I put it back on the shelf, and I walked out. I've never gone back. And in those 40 years, I've washed work clothes, baby clothes, church clothes, grease rags, and white sheets that would blind you in the sun, all without spending a single cent on the stuff they sell you in those bottles. Here's the part that's going to bother some people. The reason you don't already know this isn't because it doesn't work. It's because there is no money in teaching you how to wash your clothes for $1. The detergent company doesn't send you a friendly note in the mail saying, hey, you can make this yourself in your kitchen for pennies. Of course they don't. They sell you a jug that's mostly water with a little bit of cleaner stirred in, and they charge you $20 for it, and they count on you never once wondering what's actually inside. I'm going to show you exactly what's inside. I'm going to show you the trick that costs about $1 and cleans better anyway. I'll tell you what it's made of, where to buy it, and how my mother used a version of this before I was ever born. And I'll be straight with you about where it falls short, too, because I'd rather you trust me than be impressed by me. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear is going to change how you think about wash day for the rest of your life. Let me tell you what happened the day I quit. It was the middle of the 1980s, and I was standing in the store with a jug in my hand, and I turned it around and read the back of it. And I remember thinking, I know most of these words from my own kitchen because my grandmother didn't have a store to run to. She made her soap on the back porch in a big iron kettle, and it cleaned just fine. And nobody in that family ever walked around in a dirty shirt. And it hit me standing right there that I was paying $20 for something my own family used to make for almost nothing. So I put it back and I went home and I started figuring it out one wash load at a time until I had it down to something anybody could do. Now, here is what nobody tells you about how laundry actually gets clean. Most people think the soap does all the work. It doesn't. Getting clothes clean comes down to a few simple things working together, and the detergent companies have spent a great deal of money making sure you never learn how simple it really is. There's the water doing the lifting, there's something to break down grease, there's something to soften the water so the cleaner can actually work, and there's a little bit of agitation from the machine. That's it. That's the whole science, and every single one of those jobs can be handled by something that costs you pennies instead of dollars. So let me tell you exactly what I use. The heart of the whole thing is a bar of good old-fashioned laundry soap. It's a yellow bar with red lettering, and it has sat on the wash tubs of working families in this country for well over 100 years. Immigrant soap makers first wrapped that bar back in the 1890s, and it has never once stopped working. You grate it down like you'd grate a block of cheese, and it melts into the wash and goes after grease and dirt like nothing you've ever bought in a bottle. One bar costs about $1, and that $1 bar is the reason I haven't touched a detergent jug in 40 years. You take that grated bar and you mix it with two more things you can buy in any store for pocket change. You need a box of borax, which is a natural mineral that's been mined out in California since the 1800s. It softens the water and it boosts the cleaning power of everything around it. And you need a box of washing soda, which pulls the grease right out of cotton and lifts stains up out of the fibers. You grate one bar of the soap, you add a cup of the borax, and you add a cup of the washing soda. You mix it all together in a glass jar with a tight lid, and you use about 2 tablespoons a load. That's it. That's the whole recipe. It makes enough to wash around 40 loads of laundry, and it costs you a couple of dollars for the entire batch. Do the math on that with me for a second. The store wants around $20 for a jug that gives you the same number of loads. My version costs a couple of dollars for that same 40 loads. That's the difference between a few pennies a load and near enough to 50 cents a load. Multiply that across a year of a family's laundry, and you are looking at real money, not pocket change. Real money that stays in your house instead of walking out the door in a plastic jug. I make a big batch of it once in the fall and once in the spring, and it sits right there on the shelf above my machine in an old glass jar with a metal lid. Takes me about 15 minutes to mix up a batch. And in the time it takes you to drive to the store, stand in line, and drive home with one jug of the bottled stuff, I've already made enough to last me half a year. Now let me tell you why this cleans better, because that's the part that really gets people. That grated bar of soap goes straight after grease and body oil, the kind that builds up on a collar and a cuff, and it does it without all the perfume they pack into the bottled stuff. The washing soda raises what they call the pH of the water, and that's a fancy way of saying it makes the water hungry for grease. It reaches down into the cotton and pulls the dirt up and out instead of just pushing it around. And the borax softens the water so all of it can actually do its job. In most homes, the water coming out of the tap is full of minerals that gum up your detergent and leave your clothes dingy over time. That's why your whites slowly turn gray, no matter how much soap you pour in. The borax handles that quietly in the background, every single load. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home-saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Here's what most people miss. The bottled detergent leaves a residue behind in your clothes on purpose. That little bit of leftover perfume and softener that makes the shirt smell a certain way coming out of the dryer, that's not clean, that's a coating. It builds up load after load, and it traps the very smells it's supposed to be covering. It's why towels stop soaking up water after a couple of years, and why your workout clothes smell sour the minute you sweat in them, even fresh out of the wash. My mix leaves nothing behind. It cleans the cotton and it rinses out clean, and the shirt comes out smelling like nothing at all, which is exactly what clean is supposed to smell like. My own mother used to say the smell they sell you in that bottle is perfume, not clean. She'd fold my father's work shirts on the kitchen table on a Friday evening and tell me the same thing every time. The bottle is half water, child. The work is in the soap. And she was right. She raised a house full of kids on one income with a mortgage due on the first. And she never once bought a fancy jug of anything. And every one of us went out that door in a clean shirt. I still remember standing next to that kettle as a little girl, watching my grandmother stir it with a long wooden paddle, and the whole yard smelling clean in a way I've never once smelled coming off a store shelf. She didn't have a chemistry book. She didn't have a marketing man telling her what to buy. She had her hands, a few cheap ingredients, and 50 years of knowing exactly what worked. Everything I've just shown you is nothing more than her recipe made a little easier for a modern machine. The kettle's gone now, but the knowledge isn't, and that's the whole reason I'm sitting here telling you about it. Now, let me give you a few more things to go along with the mix, because the powder is the heart of it, but there are a couple of helpers that make the whole thing sing. For your rinse, throw out the fabric softener, just be done with it. In its place, you use plain white vinegar, the cheap gallon jug from the bottom shelf. You pour about a half a cup into the rinse where the softener would go. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking your clothes are going to come out smelling like a pickle jar. They don't. The vinegar smell rinses away completely as the water drains out, and it takes all the leftover soap residue right along with it. What you're left with is cotton that's actually soft, not coated in a waxy film pretending to be soft. And here's the part the softener companies don't advertise. Vinegar rinsed towels hold more water than softener coated ones, and holding water is the entire job of a bath towel. I haven't bought a bottle of fabric softener since before some of you were born. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. For your whites, put down the chlorine bleach. That harsh jug that burns your nose and yellows a collar over time, you don't need it. The brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide from the drugstore does the same job for a little over $1. You pour about a half a cup right in with the wash, and it lifts the whites without the fumes and without wearing your cotton thin. It breaks down into nothing but water and oxygen by the time the rinse runs, so there's no harshness left behind at all. That's a wartime hospital trick from back when chlorine was hard to come by, and it has never once stopped working. And before I get to the last one, let me hand you a couple of little stain fixers that go right along with this, because a good wash starts before the load ever hits the water. For a grease spot on a collar or a cuff, take that same yellow bar, wet it, and rub it straight into the stain for 30 seconds before you wash the shirt. It lifts the grease out before the water ever touches it. For a fresh ink mark, sprinkle a little plain cornstarch from your kitchen right on top of it, press it in, and let it sit for half an hour. The cornstarch wicks the ink up out of the cotton the way a paper towel soaks up a spill. And for a shirt that's gone dingy and gray over the years, a couple of hours soaking in a basin of warm water with a scoop of the borax will bring it back 2 shades brighter. None of that costs you more than pennies, and every bit of it came out of my grandmother's kitchen long before it ever came out of mine. And here's the one that saves you the most money of all, and it doesn't cost you a single cent. Wash everything on cold. Almost all of what your machine spends on a load of laundry goes into heating the water, not washing the clothes. The soap I just showed you works fine in cold water. Hot water is what sets a stain, shrinks your cotton, and fades your colors. Cold water lifts the dirt and leaves the fabric alone. I washed 3 babies' worth of cloth diapers in nothing but cold water and my homemade mix, and not one of them ever came out gray. Switch every load to cold, and you'll watch a chunk fall right off your power bill without lifting a finger. Now, I promised you I'd be straight about where this falls short, and I meant it. If you've got extremely hard water in your house, the kind that leaves a white crust on your faucets, and a ring in the tub, you may need to add a little more borax to the batch to get everything working right. Start with the recipe I gave you. And if your whites still look dull, bump the borax up a little at a time until they come clean. Every house is a little different, and the water coming out of your tap isn't the same as the water coming out of mine. If someone in your home has very sensitive skin or a real allergy, test a small batch first and run an extra rinse to be safe. This mix is gentler than most of what's in the store because there's no perfume in it, but everybody's skin is their own. So use your good sense and go slow the first time. And if you've got a modern front loading machine, use a little less than you would in an old top loader because those machines use less water and the soap can build up if you overdo it. A tablespoon and a half is plenty. When in doubt, use less. You can always add more next time, but you can't take it back out of the load once it's running. Now, none of that changes the main point. For the vast majority of us, in the vast majority of homes, this washes your clothes clean. It does it better than the bottle, and it does it for pennies. This is not about suffering to save a dollar. I want that to be very clear. My clothes are clean, my towels are soft, my whites are bright, and I sleep just fine, knowing I haven't handed a detergent company a single dollar in 40 years for something my own kitchen does better. I've had people tell me, if this were really that easy, everybody would already be doing it. And I tell them the same thing every time. Everybody used to do it. Every generation before ours knew how to wash a shirt without a $20 jug. Then somebody figured out they could bottle up water and perfume and sell it back to us with a bright label. And within one generation, we forgot what our own grandmothers knew. The knowledge didn't get disproven. It didn't stop working. It just stopped being profitable for anyone except you. So here's what I want you to do this week. Not next month, this week. Go to the store and pick up 1 bar of that yellow laundry soap, 1 box of borax, and 1 box of washing soda. It'll cost you a few dollars total, and it'll last you months. Grate the bar, mix in a cup of each, and put it in a jar by your machine. Grab a gallon of white vinegar for your rinse and a brown bottle of peroxide for your whites while you're there. Then run your very next load on cold with 2 tablespoons of your new mix. Just 1 load. See how it comes out. Feel the towel. Hold the white up to the window and look at it in the sunlight. Give it 1 week. At the end of that week, walk past the detergent aisle and keep right on walking. And when your next power bill comes, take a look at what washing cold did to the number at the bottom. I've been walking past that aisle for 40 years, and it still makes me smile every single time. Do me a favor down in the comments. Tell me 2 things. Tell me what state you're in, and tell me what you've been paying for detergent because I read every single one of them. And if your mother or your grandmother had her own way of getting a wash clean that I didn't cover today, I want to hear it because that's how this whole thing works. We share what we know, we teach each other, and every trick that gets passed along is one more thing they can't charge us for. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Next time, I'll show you how I keep my whole house smelling fresh without buying a single spray or a single plug-in. Same idea, different room. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too.